you've saved up for months. You walk into Best Buy and right there on the wall is a Sony Bravia. Gorgeous picture, trusted name, the kind of TV that used to feel like a real achievement to own. You remember Sony. Your parents had a Sony Trinitron that lasted 15 years. You buy it, bring it home, and within weeks you're reading forum posts trying to figure out why a $1,400 television keeps resetting itself, why the input lag is worse than a TV half the price, and why the brand that was supposed to be the safe, smart choice is starting to feel like anything but. That experience, that specific brand of buyer's regret, is showing up more and more. And now, with a bombshell announcement from January 2026 that the mainstream media mostly glossed over. The question that real shoppers need to ask before dropping $1,000 or more on a Sony TV has changed completely. Sony has a premium problem, and almost nobody in the room wants to say it out loud. Let's start with what's actually happening in the market right now because context matters here. For years, Sony built its television reputation on one thing: picture processing. The idea was that even if a competing TV had better raw specs on paper, brighter panel, more dimming zones, lower price, Sony's cognitive processor XR could squeeze a better, more natural-looking image out of its hardware than anyone else at the same tier. And for a long time, that was a completely reasonable argument. The problem is that the gap is closing fast. Hisense and TCL have spent the last 3 years quietly building mini LED televisions, with specifications that used to be reserved for $3,000 sets, and they're selling them for $800 and $1,000 at Walmart and Costco. When a reviewer at What Hi-Fi compared the Sony Bravia 5 Mini LED against TCL's C7K, two sets competing in the same mid-range space, they called the TCL the winner for most buyers specifically because of what they described as its performance per dollar dominance. The Bravia 5 launched at $1,799 for the 65-inch model. The TCL C7K competed at around $1,000 for the same size. That's an $800 difference, and TCL won the head-to-head. A shopper at Best Buy put it plainly in a forum thread: "I wanted to buy Sony because I trust the name. Then I looked at the specs side by side with the TCL and I couldn't justify the extra $700. I bought the TCL and I haven't looked back." That's the core of Sony's problem. Not that its TVs are bad, because they're not. It's that the premium is becoming harder and harder to defend when the competition keeps getting better at a faster rate. Now let's talk about something that genuinely surprises people when they first hear it. Sony, the company that owns PlayStation, makes some of the worst performing gaming TVs at their price point, and this has been a consistent problem for years. Tom's Guide, one of the most thorough TV testing publications in the industry, put it bluntly: high input latency has been a recurring complaint against Sony TVs across its recent lineups. The flagship Bravia 9 Mini LED, which retails for around $3,000 for the 85-inch model, measured input lag of 17 milliseconds in game mode. For reference, the LG C4 OLED measured 9.2 milliseconds in the same test. Most experts consider anything under 10 milliseconds ideal. Sony's most expensive Mini LED TV in 2024 was nearly double that number. Think about what that means in practical terms. Input lag is the delay between you pressing a button and the TV responding. On a movie or a TV show, you'd never notice it. But if you're navigating a menu, scrolling through apps, or doing anything interactive, even just browsing your streaming service, there's a visible lag. And Sony, irony of ironies, makes the PlayStation 5. The company that sells you the console is selling you a TV that technically handles that console worse than competitors' TVs at half the price. One Costco buyer who owned a Sony Bravia 7 wrote on AVS Forum, "Input lag is with the TV outside game mode, no question. It's there for all HDMI sources in all picture modes except game mode. When I'm navigating the menu of my Apple TV, there's a noticeable delay between button press and response. My old LG didn't have this problem." He then noted his Bravia 7 had been running at over 200 milliseconds of lag outside game mode on a $1,500 television. To Sony's credit, their image processing in movie and cinema modes remains genuinely excellent. If you're watching films, the Bravia lineup, especially the Bravia 8 2QDO LED, delivers a stunning cinematic image with natural color and exceptional motion handling. The problem is that a TV needs to do more than one thing well in 2026, and Sony is charging premium prices for a product with a real weakness that cheaper rivals have already solved: And then there's the reliability issue. Consumer review data for Sony TVs in late 2025 and early 2026 paints an uncomfortable picture. One buyer who purchased the 85-inch Sony Bravia 5 Mini LED in January 2026 wrote, "This is the worst piece of garbage I have ever owned. All my older, cheaper TVs function better without resetting constantly. You will never be able to set it and forget it. Just trying to get a good picture is tough. I bought it on the Sony name, which now means mud to me." Another customer who bought a 65-inch Sony Bravia from a large retailer wrote, "Within a year, it started turning off randomly and progressively got worse until it was unusable. My attempts to get it serviced and slash or replaced was the most frustrating, time-intensive, and in the end, futile experience I have ever had with customer service for any electronics company. I have never had a TV last less than 5 to 10 years. Now, to be fair and accurate here, these are individual reviews, and individual experiences vary. There are also plenty of satisfied Sony customers. The Bravia 8 II has won awards from multiple publications. But the pattern of complaints about software instability, random resets, and customer service runarounds is real and recurring. And when you're spending $1,400 to $3,000 on a television, prices that used to mean something was absolutely built to last, recurring software bugs and unresponsive support feel like an especially bitter pill. A Best Buy shopper who switched from Samsung wrote, "My Sony Bravia is very glitchy. Anytime I'm watching sports, it gets skippy. My living room has light, but not a ton of it, and the TV is hard to see on sunny days, not even close to my Samsung. And we'll never buy Sony again. Here is the part that changes the entire conversation going forward. In January 2026, Sony made an announcement that received surprisingly little attention outside the tech press. Sony agreed to form a joint venture with TCL, the Chinese manufacturer known for selling very capable TVs at very aggressive prices. The structure of the deal is this. TCL takes a 51% controlling stake in the new company, which will be called Bravia Inc. Sony retains 49%. TCL paid approximately $470 million for the privilege. The joint venture was made legally binding by the end of March 2026, with actual operations expected to begin in April 2027. Let's be precise about what this means, because some coverage has been vague about it. Sony is not just partnering with TCL to save on manufacturing costs. And TCL holds the majority stake. That means TCL controls governance and day-to-day operations, product development, manufacturing, logistics, sales, and customer support for Sony-branded TVs and home audio. The new company will continue to use the Sony and Bravia names on products. From the outside, your next Sony TV will look like a Sony. From the inside, TCL is running the business. Now, there are two ways to look at this. The optimistic read is that Sony's picture processing expertise combined with TCL's manufacturing scale and cost efficiency could eventually mean better spec'd Sony TVs at lower prices. If TCL can produce panels more cheaply and Sony's engineers can tune them, that's theoretically good for consumers. Tom's Guide noted the possibility that Bravia sets could come down in price in the long run. The pessimistic read, and this is the one keeping longtime Sony loyalists up at night, is that TCL doesn't care about OLED. TCL has never prioritized OLED technology. Their entire business model is built around advanced LED backlighting, mini LED, and RGB mini LED, and as what Hi-Fi pointed out after the deal was announced, the question now hanging in the air is whether Bravia Inc. will continue to buy expensive OLED panels from LG Display and Samsung Display, or whether the TCL half of the business will steer future products away from OLED entirely. If you love Sony's Bravia 8 II for its QD OLED picture quality, and it really is a magnificent television, you may be looking at one of the last generations of Sony OLED TVS built the way they've always been built. A longtime Sony owner on AVS Forum captured the uncertainty well. "I've bought Sony TVs since my first Trinitron in 1997. The picture quality has always been worth the premium to me. Now I'm genuinely not sure what I'm buying into anymore. Is the Sony brand still Sony in 2 years? I don't know." So where does this leave you if you're actually shopping for a TV right now? If you're looking at the Sony Bravia 8 II QD OLED and picture quality for movies and streaming is your absolute top priority, it remains one of the finest televisions available. Multiple publications have given it their highest awards. The picture processing is genuinely exceptional. If your budget allows it and you're a film-first buyer, it's still a strong choice. If you're looking at the Sony Bravia 7 or Bravia 5 in the $1,200 to $2,000 range, you need to ask yourself a harder question. At those prices, an LG C5 or C6 OLED gives you better input lag, equal or better picture quality depending on the room, and a track record of reliability that Sony's mid-range lineup hasn't consistently matched. TCL's QM8K and Hisense's comparable mini LED sets are priced $500 to $1,000 less for similar screen sizes and increasingly competitive picture performance. The Sony premium is real. The question is whether what you're paying for still justifies the difference. If you're thinking about buying Sony specifically for gaming, genuinely reconsider. The input lag numbers across Sony's lineup are not competitive at these prices. LG OLEDs and even some Samsung QD OLEDs measure significantly better. Sony owns PlayStation and still hasn't fixed this. And if you're thinking long-term, buying a TV you expect to keep for 7 or 8 years, the TCL deal introduces genuine uncertainty about where the Bravia brand goes. Will the next generation of Sony TVs feel like a Sony? Nobody knows yet. Operations don't begin until April 2027. What comes out of Bravia Inc. after that is, as of right now, an open question. Sony used to be the obvious answer when someone asked which TV brand they should trust with their money. That's not the case anymore, not because Sony's best TVs are bad, but because the calculus has genuinely shifted. The competition got better, the price premium got harder to justify, the reliability concerns got louder, and now the company itself has handed majority control of its television business to a manufacturer that built its entire reputation on doing the opposite of what Sony was known for. Here's what I want to know from you. Has the TCL deal changed how you feel about buying a Sony TV? Would you still pay the premium for the Bravia name knowing TCL is running the business behind it, or does that change things for you? Let me know in the comments. And if you want someone to be honest with you before you spend real money on a television, not to sell you something, just to tell you what's actually going on, subscribe. That's the only reason this channel exists.